What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh, and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video. I'm still a little sick, so I still don't want to record like ladder videos or anything like that. But today I want to talk about what I feel the worst part of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is, especially for competitive players. This is something that has been talked about a lot, but I actually, now that we've seen kind of stuff that they're doing with the game, makes a lot of sense in terms of what they could do to fix this potential problem. So if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more videos like this in the future. I make daily competitive Pokemon and Pokemon content here on the channel. We are trying to hit the goal of 5,000 subs by July this year. And also, question of the day, what do you think is the worst part of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Let's get into it. So I'll probably just throw like random gameplay up behind me to kind of talk about this particular subject. So obviously, when I talk about the worst thing in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is like the performance issues that this game has. And I'm not discrediting that. Okay, I want to start off right there. I think that that is a issue and something that needs to be addressed, and hopefully gets addressed before we get DLC. Hopefully this update at the end of the month that we're rumored to be getting, hopefully that, or it's confirmed actually, but hopefully that update will provide some fixes to a lot of these issues, and then we go into DLC with better performance and things of that nature. But the thing that really irks me about Scarlet and Violet is that this is the closest game I feel that we've had to having a perfect competitive game. And what I mean by that is this. I started playing competitive Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield because the accessibility to get into competitive play was so much better in that game. There were things added such as bottle caps to boost the IVs of Pokemon, which was massive. It was very easy to get new competitive Pokemon by like spending your battle points and things of that nature. It was super easy, and then as the game progressed, they added more and more features that just made it easier and easier for people to hop in and start playing. And the difference between Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield is the gimmick. The gimmick is the big issue that this game faces. If you look at Scarlet and Violet, it's in a better state at the launch, minus the gimmick, when you look at what we have available to us, right? In Sword and Shield, we didn't have access to things like ability patches and things like that until later in like the Crown Tundra and things of that nature. So there was still work that needed to be done in Sword and Shield in order to perfect that game. But they got there eventually. If you look at the start of Scarlet and Violet, we immediately have access to ability patches. We immediately have access to bottle caps, gold bottle caps, feathers, vitamins. All that stuff is readily available, and you can just buy it. You don't have to grind for it like you did in Sword and Shield with the Digging Duo and things like that. You can literally just buy everything but ability patches and gold bottle caps, which is super beneficial. There's almost no reason for someone that plays the game daily like me at this point to ever have to breed for a hidden ability again. I just have so many resources built up that I can pop an ability patch on this Pokemon or that Pokemon. I can very easily use gold bottle caps and things of that nature. This game on a base level is so easy to get in and start making competitive Pokemon. Where the difference lies is the gimmick, like I mentioned. The gimmick is the big problem with these particular games. The reason for this is, if you look back at Sword and Shield, Dynamax was something that didn't require a resource. It didn't require a held item. It didn't require any gathering of anything. You could just go into a battle and Dynamax whatever Pokemon that you wanted to use, which was fantastic. It was accessible. No Pokemon was limited by it. It is something that was just universal in the game. Look at Terra types, though. This is not the case. This is 100% not the case. Now, obviously, you don't need to change the Terra type of every Pokemon that you plan to use. However, many Pokemon benefit from changing the Terra type. There's no denying that at all. Certain Pokemon will remain pretty much the same. If you look at something that's popular right now, like Iron Bundle typically runs like ice or water, and occasionally it runs grass, but you're mainly seeing like ice and water Terra typing on it. So that Pokemon really doesn't have to change too drastically in order to, you know, perform on a competitive team. But you look at other Pokemon like Arcanine, or like Roaring Moon. These Pokemon are changing their Terra types to benefit them and make them solid in the metagame, right? And the grind for Terra Shards is horrendous. The reason the grind is so bad, if you don't know, you don't play a lot of competitive and you're just kind of goofing around on the ladder, That requires a fair amount of Terra shards in order to change the Terra type. You can change the Terra type. It's doable. You go do it in Madali, I believe the town name is. I don't even remember right now. But you're able to do this. However, it requires so many Terra shards. So many. 50 to be exact. That is a ton of Terra shards. Considering that raids typically only give you somewhere between like 3 and 5 Terra shards each time. That is very, very low. So that means if you plan to change the Terra type on a full competitive team that you're using, you have to have 300 Terra shards, and that is a lot of extra grinding. Now, someone like me who plays the game pretty much exclusively, I almost only play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in my free time. I have a lot of time to go ahead and grind raids and grind these shards. But people who maybe want to play other games but still want to play competitive Pokemon, this is something that just eats at their ability to continue playing the game that they want to play. It is something that I feel is a huge step back from what we had in Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield was just so easy to hop in and just kind of pick up and start playing, especially once we got the Crown Tundra and the Isle of Armor. It was a very easy game to just hop in and start doing what you wanted to do. And I feel like adding the Terra shards made things even more complicated. And I'm not saying I don't like Terrestrialization. I actually prefer Terrestrialization to Dynamax. I think it's a much more fun gimmick. It's probably my favorite gimmick that Pokemon's ever had. I just think they need to improve upon the formula and how to actually change your Terra typing. And I think there are some valid solutions when you look at the DLC and how they could add some items and things of that nature that could make this an easier process. First thing I want to say is I think 7-star raids make this much better. Now, there's a caveat to it because it takes 2 weeks, well, it's like 3 weeks because it's every other weekend for a 7-star event, but it takes like 3 weeks for the one Terra type. Now, if you're grinding the Terra raids, and I think the 7-star Terra raids are really, really fun and worth doing, because of the other rewards, not just the Terra shards, you can get a handful of whatever Terra type that particular 7-star raid is. I have so many dragon, fighting, and poison Terra shards because, one, I find the 7-star raids extremely fun. Like I said, I think it's really fun to go in, do a bunch of them, help other people do them, and then just reap the benefits of the rewards because the rewards are super good. But you get so many Terra shards of that type. The problem is there's a 3-week period where you're just getting one type of Terra shard, right? Right now, we're hitting the second weekend of Greninja. We're getting only poison Terra shards, right? So that is one caveat to that. Despite them being beneficial for that, you're only getting one Terra shard for X amount of time until a new 7-star raid rotation comes in. Now, in terms of ways that I feel you can make this better through DLC, I have 2 really big ways that I feel that they could change something in the DLC, add something to the game that would make this that much better. The first is a daycare. Now, I have been very vocal on Twitter and in some of my other videos that I am not a fan of the breeding system in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I really hate having to make a bunch of eggs at a picnic and then hatch them instead of just circling around the daycare like I have in previous games. That is just something that's super unfun. So a daycare, for one, would make a lot of shiny hunters and breeders very happy because a lot of people, I've seen a lot of disdain for the breeding mechanic in Scarlet and Violet. But you could add it in a DLC and make it a gimmicky daycare, right? Make it something that just is like, hey, we have a special breeder here that has figured out how to pass down the Terra type of a Pokemon to its offspring. That would be huge. That way you could farm like a Ditto or this, that, or the other, give it an item of some sort, and then be able to pass on the Terra type to offspring. That would be absolutely huge for improving the ability to get Terra types on certain Pokemon. I think that is something that would be just incredibly beneficial, because then you wouldn't have to grind as much for Terra shards to change each individual Pokemon, because you think about it, every meta, some Pokemon change what Terra types are good. Garganacl started as a Ghost when it was early Series 1, and then Poison type got really popular, and now Ghost is really popular again. So you have to keep grinding Terra shards, right? This would be a way for you to pass it on and be able to not have to grind a bunch of Terra shards. If you already have X amount of Garganacls with certain Terra types that you got from raids, or, you know, things of that nature, or you change their Terra type, you'd be able to pass that on to offspring and be able to make more competitive Pokemon like that. I think this is a really solid option to fix that particular issue. However, I think there is a better way to do this, and it would solve the problem altogether. In the DLC, I feel what would be super beneficial would be to include something called a Terra Crystal, right? The Terra Crystal would be something that you could build after collecting enough Terra Shards. Let's say 50, because that seems to be what they like. After you collect 50 Terra Shards, you can mush them together to make a Terra Crystal. After you have the Terra Crystal, you never have to grind Terra Shards for that Terra type again. Does that not sound perfect? Grind 50 shards, make the Terra Crystal. You can unlimitedly change the amount of times that you have that particular Terra type on a Pokemon. You can just keep changing it because you have that Terra Crystal. That sounds like a perfect solution that can be added in the DLC to fix this glaring issue that this game has, and then everybody's happy. I think that if they fix this, this is the best competitive game for Pokemon that we had in terms of accessibility. Let's not get started on the static, battle arena that we play on in VGC, and the 3 grandmas that are cheering us on versus the Coliseums that we battled in Sword and Shield, right? Let's not talk about that. I'm talking about getting in and being able to play competitive Pokemon. If they fix this issue, that is going to be the best way to get people in. This game is going to be perfect if they fix this glaring issue. But that is really my thoughts. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'm going to wrap this up here. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Also, be sure to check out the Discord where people over there playing Pokemon all the time. And if you want to see more from me, check out this video where I talk about how to counter Perish Song in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because Wolfie won Orlando with Perish Song. We're going to see a lot more Perish Song teams popping up here and there on the ladder, so definitely worth knowing how to get around it. Also, check out this video where I talk about Talonflame and why it is like the best Tailwind setter in Series 2. Definitely worth checking out. But until next time, peace.